What's good, guys? Farzine Vasugan here with you on a Sunday morning. Well, morning if you're in the central time zone or anywhere later than that. It's obviously not in the morning East Coast time, but you get the idea. Game day, Sunday night football. NFL games are about to start in just a moment, but of course, everybody talking about the good old college football playoffs. Alabama got in. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. A lot of angry people to say the least. Yeah. I was surprised Florida State did not get in. That was a surprise. All right. Well, if you guys want to talk more about that, we'll get into that. But today, Chiefs playing the Packers Sunday night football. Just kind of my thoughts on this game. We obviously saw the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. What happened on Monday Night Football coming off the bye? Great offensive effort to open up the first half, leading by 10 at halftime, and then they lose the game in the second half, not scoring a single point, and they definitely turned that ship around, but not against a quality football team, but it is still a road game against a divisional rival, and not to mention they were down 14-0 in that game. We saw a lot of great things in that game, though. Rashee Rice looked like a number one receiver in that game. Isaiah Pacheco looked like one of the best running backs in the NFL in that game as well. Patrick Mahomes seemed to have found his groove. And that dart he threw, that touch pass to Travis Kelce, a lot of people are still kind of talking about, and I think that right there is the throw that a lot of people are viewing as the throw that maybe Mahomes got his confidence back, because this offense is not playing with a lot of confidence. From the quarterback position to the pass catchers, we haven't seen a lot of that. And hence why, when you lead the NFL and drop passes, that is going to definitely play a role mentally. And I think that's definitely going to hurt a team's confidence when you're doing all the right things with route running, offensive scheme, everything, and then you can't hold on to the football, and that is definitely going to create some issues mentally. So the Chiefs definitely turned things around and figured things out in that game last week against the Raiders on the road, and that was good to see. Especially after the first quarter, they only ran 4 plays. After that, Josh Jacobs did get that touchdown run, so it was 14-0 Raiders early in the second quarter. After that, the Raiders only scored 3 points. Defense definitely got back into the groove. Offense definitely played much better. The Chiefs offense we know and love, and I know a lot of people talking about this offense, and people were talking about the fact that, with this Chiefs team, they haven't changed a lot of guys. They just changed a wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster went on to the New England Patriots, so they replaced him with Rashee Rice. That's really the only major change on offense. You let your 2 offensive tackles walk and you replace them with Donovan Smith, who's not as good, just a little bit better than Orlando Brown. Still, I'll take Donovan Smith over Orlando Brown, especially when you consider the contracts. And then Juwan Taylor, who has been a good pass blocker, just commits a lot of penalties. But whenever he's not committing a penalty, and this has been out there on ESPN and Pro Football Focus, he wins a lot of his blocking duels against pass rushers. So Juwan Taylor, if he can take care of the penalties, I think that can be considered a good signing at right tackle. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why would you pay a lot of money to a right tackle? Because your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. I'm fine with paying right tackles. If you think that keeping your quarterback healthy, clean, and not get hit as much is worth paying all that money to a right tackle, do it. I'm 100% for it. If your quarterback is Nathan Peterman, why are you paying a right tackle? That is the least of your worries. But the Chiefs do have a quarterback that they're going to have here for a long time. Already have signed him to a long-term deal. So signing a right tackle to that kind of money, 100% worth it in my eyes. I really wish they did that with Mitchell Schwartz, but unfortunately he dealt with a lot of injuries towards the end of his time in Kansas City and just couldn't come back from that. So they've had a hard time trying to replace him. Like when you look at Donovan Smith, he hasn't been great, which, again, it's not as frustrating because he's on a 1-year deal. So in a couple of months, he might not be here anymore. Wanya Morris, his play looked very encouraging. Again, it was only 4 or 5 snaps, but it got enough to get Andy Reid to talk about him. And, small sample size. So, me personally, I'm not going to get too excited about it, but I would like to see more of him when the time comes, when the right time comes. What if Donovan, and not to say, I'm hoping for an injury to happen. No one ever wants to see that. But if that were to happen to Donovan Smith, or maybe even if the Chiefs say, look, we're going to just go ahead and make a change. We're going to give Wanya Morris opportunities so we can see if this is going to be the better guy to go with in the playoffs. I really hope that's the route that the Chiefs go towards, because unfortunately Donovan Smith has not lived up to expectations this year. So that I hope the Chiefs can look at it and figure out as they get closer and closer to the playoffs. As far as tonight's game goes, I think there's going to be a closer one than a lot of people think. The Packers have been playing better football in the last couple of weeks. Jordan Love, I think he has like the fourth most interceptions thrown this year with 10 picks. I'll double check on that. I know I mentioned that on the podcast earlier this week, but I can't remember if he was tied fourth in the NFL or what that was. But he has not thrown an interception in the last two games. Packers have been playing better football in the last couple of weeks. And yeah, it is 10 interceptions. He is tied with Josh Dobbs, Jalen Hurts, and Tua. Patrick is right behind him in that category. He's thrown 9 picks on the year, but Jordan Love has been playing much better football. 5 touchdowns, no picks in the last 2 games. Obviously, that Thanksgiving Day game against the Detroit Lions was a big performance for him. A lot of people saying that is the best game of Jordan Love's young career so far, and I would definitely agree with that. The way he played in that one, and then the week before against the Chargers, a very close one right there, going for more than 300 yards, 322 to be exact. Again, no picks in any of that. Didn't get sacked, nor did he throw a pick in that game last week against the Lions. He also ran the ball a couple of times. He's been taking advantage of certain opportunities that come up whenever he sees a lane to scramble. So I think that is going to be the biggest test for the Chiefs, because the Chiefs the Chiefs defense has not been in a lot of situations where they have been challenged to stop quarterbacks that are trying to run, even against a guy like Justin Fields. Justin Fields didn't really try to do that kind of thing much against Kansas City this year. Jalen Hurts, a guy who's capable of doing that kind of thing, but didn't really attempt it much against the Chiefs. They use a lot of DeAndre Swift in that football game rather than trying to utilize the Jalen Hurts for scrambling. So I'm curious to see how Kansas City tries to defend that and how Green Bay tries to combat that Chiefs defense in tonight's game. Lambeau leap. Anyone think a Chiefs player will do a Lambeau leap? Because it's been made a huge deal, both locally and nationally, that this is Patrick Mahomes' first game in Green Bay, in Lambeau. Obviously, I get it. I mean, Lambeau is a historic site, but I think it may be a little overdone. Missouri and Kansas should be there. Oh boy. Man, I don't know. Missouri, what did how did they finish their season? Because KU kind of ran into a wall late in the year. Mizzou was in the top 10, weren't they? That's a shame, man. Yeah, Missouri was so close to an SEC title game. I mean, they're there. I know there were some complaints about Drinkwitz and all and whatnot, but it's like, man, you're a top 10 team. You know, a team that I thought was frustrating to watch in the championship games yesterday? Iowa. Like, come on, man. I get Michigan is Michigan, but you got to show up and do a little better. I was hoping Iowa would pull off. Here's the thing. I wanted Iowa to pull off an upset. Like, before the Georgia game, I didn't give a damn. But once Georgia lost, I'm like, you know what? Let's get number 1 and number 2 to lose in the final. Well, not the regular season anymore, technically, but you get the idea. But it just would have been so cool to see. Would have been so cool to see that kind of chaos because a lot of. I mean, college football would have loved that. There would have been a lot of reactions to that today if because no one would have known who to go with. What do you guys think of the college football playoffs? I'll say this too. Like, I'm a KU guy, And obviously the past couple of years have been awesome. Like KU's gone from this hellhole to now being one of the more relevant teams in college football. But I will say, like, and I don't want to compare this to 2007 because I don't even think it was close to that. But it is nice seeing all three local college teams be very competitive, in addition to the Chiefs being as good. Because I still remember 07 when KUMU had that epic game at Arrowhead. That was the best game played at Arrowhead this year. The Chiefs were horrible. Nobody cared about the Chiefs. Nobody cared about the Chiefs the following year when KUMU had another epic game. And I think in 09, KU and MU had another big game. And that was Todd Haley's first year as the Chiefs. So the biggest games played at Arrowhead in those few years were KUMU games. Nobody cared about the Chiefs at that time. So the fact that all three local college football teams are playing very well right now, and the Chiefs, obviously one of the best in the NFL, just a good time to be a football fan in Kansas and Missouri. What's your upset pick of the week? Let me pull up my picks. Upset pick of the week. I don't know if this would be a major upset, but I kind of think the Titans can beat the Colts, because the Colts are up there right now in playoff contention right now. I also have the Browns losing. That's not, again, I don't know if anyone views that as a massive upset because the Browns don't have a viable offense right now. Yeah, I don't really, I'm looking at my picks right now. I don't really have an upset of any kind other than Tennessee over the Colts and the Rams over the Browns, which those are not. I will say this, not that this is related to the question, but I'm surprised the Eagles are not favored. I'm picking San Francisco to win that game, but I am surprised the Eagles are not the favorites. San Francisco this week was labeled as the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl, with the Chiefs right behind them and the Eagles right behind the Chiefs, which I find that interesting when, and by the way, let me just say this, because a lot of people are making a big deal about the Eagles. Oh, they're the worst 10-1 team in the NFL right now. Or I don't know what their record is right now. 10-1, 11-1. I think it's 10-1. Yeah, 10-1. A lot of people are saying they're the worst 10-1 team in NFL history because they got away with that drop pass against the Chiefs and then against the Cowboys. The tight end just barely, missed the end zone, that white chalk. It's like, yeah, but what else do we say about the sport? It's a game of inches. Here's my thing. I know last year, before the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, a lot of people were complaining about the quality of wins the Chiefs had against a lot of bad teams. Like the Chiefs had 5 ugly wins. I've already posted that this year, and the Chiefs have had a couple of ugly wins this year. The big one being against Jets, Zach Wilson Jets team, which it looked like Zach Wilson was going to pick things up, but not so much anymore. I know the Chiefs had another ugly win against the Broncos. That was the Thursday night game. There's another ugly win the Chiefs had. I mean, the Dolphins game, okay, it was kind of ugly, but it was also against a very good football team. I know the Dolphins have not beaten anyone with a winning record, but still, you can, if you win, that's all that matters to me. That's all you can control. Like if you win, let me say this right now. Look at the Patriots, who are just complete, utter garbage this year. Don't you think they would rather be talking about ugly wins right now? Because the Patriots, they have played a couple of teams close this year. So the teams that have beaten the Patriots this year, those people are looking at that and saying, oh, well, we got an ugly win over the Patriots. Shit, man. Win ugly, win pretty. If you win, that is all that matters. You can't take any of that away. You just can't. Have a bad feeling about tonight. Going to be a tough environment. Still not sold on this offense after last week. The Packers are looking really good right now. Yeah, the Packers, I mentioned, have been playing better football, Nathan. I agree with you. Listen, I think what you're saying is fair, and I don't disagree with you with the offense. You gotta be able to prove yourself on a consistent basis. Yeah, looked good last week, but you were also going up against the Raiders. I get it. Rivalry team on the road. Can you do it again on the road in a very tough environment? I hope so. And I think they will. Paul says, she says, frozen bubbles. What have you been drinking this morning, Paul? Woke up early this morning making cheese and milking the cows for you. Can you catch tonight? I don't know. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know what you're talking about, Paul. And we'll just move on. Anthony says, in hindsight, it seems they could have used that $9 million on Smith and played Morris and signed D-Hop. I understand the apprehension of going with a rookie left tackle, though. Yeah. But look, man, yeah, you're right. You know, when you pick a offensive lineman in the draft outside of the first or second rounds, they don't generally play a lot early, but the Chiefs have also been, and not to say, you know, past experiences impact today, but the Chiefs have been a little lucky in some of the late round guys they've drafted. Guys like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I know his story off the field has gotten more attention than on the field, but he was also a really good offensive guard during his time in Kansas City. Zach Fulton from the same draft class was drafted really late. Trey Smith, a 6th round pick who started playing day one. Lucas Niang, who is still on the team, right? At least I think. I mean, we haven't really heard much about him. But Lucas Niang, who opted out in 2020 and played in 2021. And I think Lucas Niang was the 3rd round pick. He looked really good in his first game as a rookie in 2021. So the Chiefs, you know, I think Andy Heck is one of the better offensive line coaches in the NFL. And I think Andy Reid also has a hand in that as well, of course, being the head coach. But, you know, to me, it's like if Donovan Smith continues his struggles, excuse me, why not consider a switch? Probably better. I'd rather do the switch within the next 2 weeks than do it in week 17 or week 18, because at that point, it's like, okay, you can maybe live with Wanya Morris's early struggles now and try to fix those and have him adjust as the next 6 weeks go along. Whereas if you throw him in there as a new starter in week 18, well, shit, man, that's like the worst timing in the world, because you can't really afford errors in the playoffs at that point for obvious reasons, because at that point you lose and you go home. So I don't anticipate that happening. I think they're going to stick with Donovan Smith to the end, but you're the Chiefs, man. You got to look at the fact that Donovan Smith is 2nd in pressures allowed and behind Orlando Brown, funny enough. And I think you gotta consider it at least. Playoff format is a joke. See, a lot of people have said this, but then, like, you know, and Brandon, I don't know what your stance on this has been in the past, but people for the longest time they were complaining about not having playoffs, me included. I mean, listen, I think it's just stupid to put 2 teams and just say, yeah, these are the 2 best. We're putting them in the national championship game. I hope that they're expanding it to 8 next year or the year after, right? I think 8 is better. 4 is a good start, but now, you know, in the past few years, we've been talking about how certain teams get screwed. I think 8 is the right number. I just do. Browns will lose. Flacco's our starting QB. Yeah, I mean, listen, Joe Flacco obviously did great during that. So he had one of the best postseason runs in NFL history for a quarterback. But that was also several years ago. So, yeah, I don't think Joe Flacco is going to be saving Cleveland's season. Not at all. Do you ever not choose the Chiefs to win a game? In the offseason, I may. I don't know. When was the last time? I think the last time I picked the Chiefs to lose was against the Raiders in 2021, because that was a weird year, 2021. So there's your answer. It's been a while, but I mean, every team's beatable. 100%. Every team. I don't care if you're the reigning champs. You've got the best record right now in the NFL. Every team's beatable for sure. But I think you've got to, if the Chiefs play 4 quarters of good football, their style of football, yeah, I think they're going to be tough to beat. 49ers have a chip on their shoulder today against the Eagles from last season. Yeah, that's true. They're more healthy now than the Eagles at the moment. Yeah, that was just a really tough way for the 49ers to end the season with everything they've gone through or did go through last year. And then that 3-game losing streak from this year, I think the 49ers have proven they are much better than how they looked in those 3 weeks, or 3 games rather, because I think a bye week was in there. Yeah, I suppose today's the day to prove that you are a much better football team than the Eagles. You're still going to be behind the Eagles in the standings if you win, but at least you got a chance. You've got a really good chance on a number one seed if Philadelphia drops another game. What are your thoughts on Zach Ertz? Yeah, so let me just say right now, if I had to put money down, I don't think he's coming to Kansas City. Would I be opposed to it? Not entirely so, but I think to me, it's like, why would you consider Zach Ertz? I know a lot of people were saying wide receivers. I get it, but what wide receiver right now is available? I know some of you guys have mentioned names for a few weeks, but there's also a reason why that some of those guys have been available and continue to be available. I know Zach Ertz, his best years are behind him. I thought it was a great pickup for Arizona, by the way, when he came from Philadelphia in that trade. But, I think if you're trying to find ways to erase drops, sure, I can understand the logic in trying to get Zach Ertz and trying to create a 2 tight end system to try to better the season as you go on. So. I don't see it happening, but I'm also not opposed to it happening. I think he reunites with the Eagles. If he goes to the Eagles, that's a huge pickup for them, and that could be the push that the Eagles need to try to return to the Super Bowl. I've been very adamant about a Super Bowl rematch for a long time, since the offseason, and I'm kind of sticking with that. MVS going to ball out tonight, you think, Sean? Okay. Hope so. I mean, if you were one of those people like me that had a lot of energy when he dropped that pass and had a lot to say, you better have the same energy when he has a big game. You guys know me, man. Bring the same energy every single time. Piper says, hope the Eagles win against the 49ers, I think is what you meant to say. Okay. They're expanding to 12. It's 12 teams next year. Okay. I thought it was 8 for some reason. Okay. Well, shit. There are more opportunities, I guess, for the teams like Florida State, who a lot of people think got screwed over. Rice, MVS, good games. Pacheco, strong game. Travis Kelce, good game. Chiefs D, great game. 31-17. Yeah, I'm going 24-20 tonight. So that is how I feel. Yeah, Ray, they definitely need to win out because if they do that, they get the number one seed. If they lose, that's when you have to scoreboard watch very closely, and you have to hope that Baltimore drops a game. Might need Jacksonville and Miami to drop games too, who the Chiefs have tiebreakers over. So yeah, you definitely winning out. Here's what I like about the Chiefs, and it's been this way for the Chiefs for a few years now. Really, since Mahomes has gotten there, the Chiefs control their own destiny. That is the position you always want to be in the NFL. It's never going to be easy to get that number one seed. Not the end of the world if you don't get it, but you would rather get it than not, of course. So I think Kansas City can do it, and they're in the driver's seat. They are in the driver's seat right now. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. NFL games have already started, so I'm going to go and watch some games. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I'll be back at halftime to do another live stream, hopefully recapping a good first half and hopefully previewing a good second half. We know that's been a struggle lately for the Chiefs before last week. And then after the game tonight, we'll be doing the Chiefs Zone podcast live on Facebook and on YouTube. So make sure you come back and join me afterwards. Otherwise, I'm out. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Talk to you all later.